Hey there, listeners. Thanks for stopping by to the podcast today. Please, before you're done listening to this episode, leave us a review. If you're on Spotify, you can review now, and you can also review on Apple Podcasts. But if there's any platforms that I'm forgetting about and you can leave us a review, please do so. If you're happening to watch this on YouTube, and if you don't know, you can watch these podcasts on YouTube now, please like and subscribe to the channel and share the episode as well. So thanks for stopping by, everybody, and enjoy the episode. Knowledge is Power is where you come to hear people's life experiences to learn from. So, without further ado, let's roll the intro.
Stay hungry, stay foolish.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
I have a dream. Will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Hello and welcome back to the Knowledge is Power podcast. This is your host, Max Willett, and we got another great guest on today. So if you could go ahead and introduce yourself, that would be great.
Hello, Max. Thank you for having me. My name is Jim Paiva. I own Elite Auto Repair in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Very cool. Well, I appreciate you coming out. Today we're recording on a very cold and rainy day in January in Rhode Island. So not the best day, but glad to have you in the, I've never called it before, but the studio. Yeah, why don't you go ahead and tell my listeners your life story and how you got to this point in your life.
All right. Well, I guess my life story, I've always had a passion for cars. I always loved cars, mechanical things. I liked taking things apart. Mm-hmm. As I was younger, I wasn't that great at putting them back together, but I did learn over the years. Never really had an interest in school, believe it or not. I always wanted to be a technician. Mm-hmm. And so here I am. 40 years later, I'm a business owner. Mm-hmm. We own Elite Auto Repair in Warwick. I started my career in 1980. I went to a school back then called Rhode Island Trade Shop School. Mm-hmm. Graduated from there. Had a short stint at Barry's in Newport.
Okay.
I started off there. I worked there for about a year and a half. And then I worked at a place called Newport Imports at the time. It was a pretty small dealership, maybe 4 or 5 franchises. They had Jeep, Plymouth, Chrysler, Ferrari, BMW. Then they eventually bought Renault, believe it or not. I don't hear about them too much or that often anymore. Suzuki, and they morphed into this big business known as Newport Auto Center, mm-hmm. which ended up buying Inskip. They ended up with, 30 different franchises.
Wow.
And they treated me very well. I was with them for 12 years. Rick Adoyan, the owner of the company, was a little older than myself. And he just took that company and went nuts with buying franchises and dealerships and building here, building there. Luckily, he liked me, so he moved me from franchise to franchise. Mm-hmm. And my last stint was at Lexus. I opened that store at Inskip Lexus in 1992. I guess Lexus came out in 90, but it took them a couple of years to get the building built and whatnot. I stayed there till 1998, and that's when we went into business. My business partner and myself jumped mm-hmm. in with both feet, took a $50,000 SBA loan, and that's how we all started.
Very cool. So was there a point like in your childhood that you thought that you would eventually own your own business, or was it just sort of something that came up and you saw the opportunity and you took it?
No, well, the truth of the matter is I always wanted to be a service manager at a dealership. Mm-hmm. And I think the reason I was held back is because I was very good at fixing cars. I was very efficient, very productive, and I had a knack with clients and customers. And I always was on the front lines talking to clients, going for road tests with them. I always enjoyed the people part of it. Mm-hmm. So they never really gave me the opportunity to be a service manager, so I got frustrated. And, thinking back now, I mean, service manager pretty much now is 1 foot out the door and only as good as your last day. So it was it gave me a lot of time to grow and get mature enough to own my own business. And eventually I just said the heck with it and did exactly that, went into business. And it's been a great life doing it. It really has. I really enjoyed working on cars. I enjoyed dealing with people, building relationships. That was a very important part of my life that I think, I grew into, which was really cool.
Very interesting. So if you could just make sure the mic's a little bit closer. Yeah, sorry about that. They're a little picky.
Right.
Eventually I'll get better microphones. But so 1998, started your own business. When you were starting to ramp everything up, you got the place open. What was the most difficult part about starting that business?
Well, when we first started, we specialized in Lexus and Toyota. That was the only two franchises that I was interested in. That's where all my experience was. I just love those cars. But I would have to say the most difficult was just the constant worry of not having enough work, or not being able to pay the bills, or that was probably the most nerve-wracking part of going into business. Is as a business owner, you're always worried about running out of work. You're always worried about not being able to feed your children. But luckily, back in the day, I didn't mind working 12, 15-hour days. And I think the hard work and dedication and commitment to doing what it took to get that business off the ground, I think that's was probably my most challenging part of going into business.
So just trying to find work, consistent work, you think was the most difficult? Or
we've always had consistent work. Even today, we have consistent work that comes in, but it's always a worry that you're not going to have enough, or you're going to run out of work. So
when you first started, what was the most effective strategy to help get your business in front of people?
Well, I think we built our reputation around honesty and transparency. So I have to say, probably the relationship part of it. I'm pretty good at getting in front of people and earning their trust and building that relationship. So I think that was probably how it all started.
So when it comes to marketing, what do you think was your most effective strategy?
Well, to date is without a doubt being a member of BNI, Business Network and International, has hands down been the single one thing that has built our business and brought revenue to the door that I've had to pay for advertising or marketing. So that's hands down is I wish I can clone myself 3 times and have 3 different ones, although I am working on that. My son is currently in your BNI. And I'm looking forward to what he's going to bring to the table.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and everybody in the group that has brought their car there has had nothing but great things to say.
That's awesome.
And it's funny, I saw you earlier today. We're recording this on Friday, January 6th. This won't be posted for a couple of weeks. But I had said, I remember a long time ago, it was probably 10 years ago, that I saw a Ferrari out front of the shop. And I don't know why I remember it being Elite, but I clearly remember the logo, and because I was always up there for baseball all the time when I was a kid. And it was just pretty interesting. And it's so funny, like I didn't even remember that until like a week ago. But I definitely like to say that I'm interested in cars. I am nowhere near mechanic, I can watch my friend do the brakes on my car for me. I'm pretty good at that. Standing there, here's a wrench, here's a tool, whatever. I'm pretty good at doing that. But I do love like talking about cars. And so was it just sort of coincidence that you specialized in Lexus and Toyota when you said you were working at the other dealership, or were you able to choose the cars that you were able to work on when you weren't owning your own business?
Well, no, I always worked at a dealership.
Okay.
So, I mean, I've only had 3 jobs in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But one was at Barry's working on Nissans at the time. But it was really Newport Auto Center that gave me the opportunity to try other franchises. And I started off in Newport Auto Center working on Chrysler, and then I did a little bit of BMW work, and then at that time they bought South County Toyota. It was called South County Toyota, and Rick moved me over to South County Toyota. That was where I really started to love Japanese or Toyotas. And then, of course, when Lexus came to compete with all the Highline European cars, that was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
But going into business, as I said, we first started off with just Lexus and Toyota. And then, again, having this in the back of my mind, always worried about running out of work. And a guy who owns a Lexus might say, can I bring my Mercedes in? Or a Toyota guy, might have a European car, BMW or Mercedes. So we started to dabble. I started to dabble with that. And then as time went on, I hired more and more people. And currently we have 10 people. But I hired more techs. And as a result, we got really good at the European cars. And now, fast forward almost 25 years, we're mostly a European shop. For what we started off as just Lexus and Toyota, now we're mostly European, which is everything from, Audi to Mercedes, BMW, Porsche.
You said it right.
That's
You
all
said it
our
right, Porsche.
that's all our real blood now is those European cars. And as time went on, Lexus and Toyota, they got into these long, lifelong services. So their services have cut down quite a bit, where they used to have timing belts, which was, a good job to do. Now they have time and chains. They used to do the 30s, the 60s, the 90,000 miles. They've extended that type of service where you're not doing a whole lot on them anymore. So we had to reach out and start grabbing some other vehicles to work on. And the European cars, the most exciting cars to drive, not the most reliable. So we do fix a lot of European cars because of their reliability factor. But
what's some most popular brand that comes in with issues?
BMW.
Well, I'm going to send this episode to one of my friends, and if he ends up listening to this, then you know exactly who you are.
Right.
This kid, BMW, his dad gave him a BMW when we were in high school, and it's a 99 325. Is it an SIS? IS coupe, 5-speed manual. It's really a beautiful car.
Right.
But it has like over 200,000 miles on it.
No, that's great.
And they've had no issues with it.
That's
which
rare.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's got the straight six because we were talking about earlier also, we're going to get into cars technical, I guess. The straight six, I mean, we live in America, the V8,
Right.
Is it the flat, not a flat plane crank? That's the European one, isn't it? Or what is what I'm talking about?
The
I don't know. Just like the regular V8 is the best.
V8,
is the best engine in the United States. But in my opinion, the best engine overall is a straight six.
I believe that's been predicted already for being reliable. The straight sixes are always strong engines.
Yeah, it's the combination of reliability and I know this is not the greatest thing to talk about when it comes to just overall car experience or fun is gas mileage. They're not usually horrible on gas.
they're not the best, like a little 4-cylinder, but they sound great in the right car with the right setup, and they're just great engines. Like I've been lucky enough to drive some straight sixes and Porsches and a Cayman, and like I think that's, what is that? Is that a 4-liter in those Caymans? Or
They have 4 liters.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's just amazing. It revs and it sounds just incredible. Like,
yes. You can get a lot out of the 6-cylinders nowadays. I mean, a lot of these 6-cylinders is the ones they beef up with the turbos and all this other stuff going on that they have. But the 6-cylinder is a nice medium-sized engine that's pretty reliable.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is all these NA engines, like they're going out of whack. Like there's no more NA engines, naturally aspirated engines.
Sure.
It's all turbocharged. It's all smaller engines, turbos, 4-cylinders, or really small 6-cylinders that
Displacements are still pretty comparable. I mean, you can get a 4-liter V8 Toyota with 8 small pistons, or you can get a 4.5 straight 6 with 6 big pistons. The displacement is very comparable, but the power that you can get out of the 6-cylinders are pretty cool too.
Well, I think in the new 4Runners, they're still offering the 4-liter 6-cylinder, which is an ancient engine.
V6
for 6-cylinder.
Yes.
Which is an ancient engine from like Toyota seems to be sticking to that engine in that car. But we'll see what happens to it in the next couple of years, because they're not Toyota, but most automakers are constantly updating their cars.
Yeah, Toyota, I mean, what's made Toyota so reliable? Well, a few things, but they're not looking for the next best thing constantly like the European cars are. They take a platform and they perfect it. And what I learned a long time ago, let's use Lexus for example. In Japan, there's no Lexus. Doesn't exist. It's just an extension model of Toyota. So, when we first got introduced in 1990 to Lexus, everybody thought, oh yeah, it's just a dressed up Toyota. Well, yeah, it is. It is a dressed up Toyota. But in Japan, it's a Toyota, whatever they call it for a model, we call here a Lexus. And the reason they were so bulletproof and still are is many cars that Toyota sends over here have already been proven in Japan. Some of these models that come over here is an old model in Japan. So that's why, is they've been able to fine-tune these vehicles before they send them out, and that's why they're so reliable, is because they've been proven already.
So what happens if somebody comes to your shop and says, hey, I got a Tesla, and I need some work done on it? When it comes to the batteries, what do you say?
Well, it's uncharted territory right now.
Yeah.
I can tell you there is some maintenance on Teslas. For instance, let's say they'll never need brakes. Well, there is a brake service for a Tesla. You take them apart, you clean all the rust out of them, you lube them back up, you put them back together, and it's a brake service. So you do have brake fluids. There's, tires. Still got suspension.
Would you guys work on one though if it had battery issues? Like,
I don't think so. Not right now. There's not enough information out there that I would feel comfortable on it. Again, I can do A, B, and C on a Tesla, but I wouldn't get into the intricacies of it. By the time we see cars, we use our sweet spot of cars that are 4 years old, just out of warranty, to like maybe 2010. That's our sweet spot. 2010 to 2020s. Somewhere in there, 2019s.
Yep.
That's our sweet spot for cars. So that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, like I said before, I love cars, and by far, like, my dream car is a Porsche Carrera GT.
Beautiful car.
Yes. Last analog supercar. And something else I mentioned earlier today. A lot of people confuse cars that are fast with being fun, right? Just because a car isn't as fast as another car doesn't mean it's not fun. People drive Miatas and have the best day ever.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're tiny, rear-wheel drive, manual transmission most of the time, and they're fun, right? But people think that because it's a Ferrari and it goes 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds and it's got all this horsepower, it's like, well, you're afraid to drive it.
Yeah, you can't unleash that around here.
No.
You know, especially in the Northeast with the potholes and
Oh
all
my
these other
gosh, yeah.
things.
Like, if you drive a Miata, you can floor it, go all out in the corners, and you're going 40 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You do that in a Ferrari, you're going to be arrested and put in jail for 20 years. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and you're afraid to drive these cars. So in my opinion, Porsche is still a premium brand, but the older Caymans, even the Boxsters, I've never driven a Boxster before.
Yeah.
But those older manuals with the straight sixes, I would take one of those over a Ferrari any day of the week. Like, just because
definitely.
you can drive it, you can have fun and not feel bad about it.
And reliable.
And they're reliable.
Porsche's pretty bulletproof with their reliability. I mean, we see a lot of them, especially in the summertime when they come out of hiding for the winter. We see a lot of Porsches, and I'll tell you what, they're pretty reliable. They're they're very bulletproof. Everything you do on them's expensive, but the thing is very rarely are they breaking down. They're just not. You don't get them towed in unless it's a flat tire, and they don't have a lot of room for spare tires.
Yeah.
So you're getting it towed in. Usually it's a flat tire. It's not because it died on the road. So
the unfortunate thing about all these cars is they're getting needlessly complicated. You know, and it's all this technology and all this added stuff that's gonna break within 10 years, and it's gonna cost a lot of money to fix it. And you're seeing that, unfortunately, with Porsche, with BMW. It used to be the ultimate driving machine, and now it's like you're driving a computer.
We spend an enormous amount of money just subscribing to the information to access for the cars, which people don't understand.
Yeah.
I mean, we're spending $15,000 a year just to have just to be able to access information from the manufacturer.
Which is a brilliant business model on their side.
Oh, it is. It is. And, never mind if you have to change a computer or something and you got to download information from the old computer to the new computer. Beside paying the hefty amount every month, you got to pay per programming too. So, it's not nuts and bolts anymore. It's, some cars, they have 100 to 200 computers nowadays.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's ridiculous on what you have to know today.
Yeah. So let's get back to your business and your business career.
Sure.
I'm sure we'll get off on another car tangent later down in the conversation. But so let's talk about, all right, your business is running. When you first started your business, how did you hire other people? And what was the process? Because obviously you had never hired people. I mean, you were in business before working for somebody else. So was there anything like, did you hire people there and then you took that knowledge and applied it to your business? Or was it the first time you were hiring people?
Well, originally it was just my business partner and I. And what I was doing is I was fixing the cars, answering the phones, ordering the parts, charging out the parts, doing dealing with people walking in, constantly distracted, doing the physical work on the car, but still managed to do it. Now, my business partner, she was doing all the administrative stuff, all the bill paying, and believe it or not, one of the great things, I learned many great things from Newport Auto Center, or in Skip, all the same guy. Every car that we serviced, and even today, we wash, vacuum, and clean the windows. Well, my business partner, Katie, she was doing the washing, windows, vacuuming the car while pregnant with our second child.
Yeah. So your business partner was your wife? or is your
At
wife?
the time, she was,
Okay.
yes, and she's still my business partner.
Okay.
She's a great business partner.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's how we get the family dynamic. My son's in the business,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter's in the business. I have another daughter who's a hairstylist, so she's seeking out her own business.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, she'll maybe own her own business. She's certainly got that opportunity. But the other two, Sam and Carly, they're both very much involved in the company. So yeah, all this was going on when it was just Katie and I. And then the first person we hired was actually to answer the phones and deal with estimates and order parts and stuff like that, so I can focus on working on the cars. And then that's when we started. After that, I hired a second technician. It was myself and someone else, Nelson. He was a great asset to us. He worked very hard with us. He now works for Toyota. But him and I, geez, sometimes we work till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
I mean, we only went home just to get an hour's sleep so we can come back and work again.
Yeah.
So I had a really hard-working first guy that, had the luxury of being able, he was young, so he had the luxury of staying as long as we could. And I'll tell you, he was a great asset to us to get us off the ground because he had the flexibility too. But yeah, it was tough at first trying to wear so many hats and do my job effectively. But I don't know, somehow you managed to do it. And, that's how it was. And then, next thing you know, we hired a car washer, we hired another technician. So, we had our share of employees, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but would you say it was one of the more difficult parts of your business, or did you get lucky enough times?
Right now, it's the most difficult
Yeah.
part. I mean, I don't know where everybody went.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, any trade right now, I don't think I'm any different than a plumber or electrician. Everybody's suffering to find good help. So yeah, it's a struggle. It's a struggle. That's our number one struggle right now, is finding good technicians.
Well, you are looking for one right now, right?
We are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
we're always marketing for them because you never know. I wouldn't mind having, a full staff and have a few sit in the bench, but the bench is empty. We used to do that years ago. We used to, I had a few people sit in the bench and I had people that were working, and it was, it wasn't a problem. Today, you got an empty bench and you're suffering to fill your shop with techs. It's not even it's come to a point where it's not even getting new business isn't really a problem. It's getting the work out the door is becoming more of a problem. Today's generation, the younger crowd today, where years ago used to forge through by working hard and working long. Today's generation doesn't like to work hard or long. So you gotta, and they're not very patient, that I found. So, you get these kids, these really good kids that are coming out of these trade schools, and they go into their job of their dreams. They go up to these big multi-million-dollar dealerships with, $10 million in inventory, all BMWs and Mercedes and Land Rovers or whatever dealership they go up to. They have this great dream that they finally hit their career, and then they get there and there's no support for them. And then on top of that, not having support and having an impatient generation, they have a bad experience, and guess what? They say, I'm not getting into cars, and they walk off. And then next thing you know, they're doing whatever they do.
They feel like they're owed something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what it is. They just don't have the patience, They just don't have the patience anymore, or the focus, or, this job didn't work, or I don't like this career. Let me try a different, guy, or a different place, or maybe a small independent shop, or, they just, unfortunately, until our industry embraces these young kids coming through the schools, we're going to always have this problem.
Yeah, I think an unfortunate reality is that it seems like, and I'm lucky, I went to a really good school in Charahoe, but a reoccurring thing that I see coming up is that kids are constantly told that they have to go to college in order to be successful, which is so far from the truth.
Very much.
You know, like, and they're promised a lot. Like, kids are promised you're going to go to college and you're going to go work somewhere, and then you're going to be making six figures by the time you're 35.
Right.
And it's all going to be great. You're going to have a car. You're going to have a house. It's just copy and paste. But then when life actually starts happening and they get out of their little cubby of high school, it's the complete opposite. They realize, oh, well, this
Right.
isn't as easy as I thought it was going to be.
You don't get a trophy for being in second place anymore.
No. Yeah, exactly. And that's something that needs to stop too. You know, it's sad. You know, I've been promised things before in different aspects of my life, and you can't expect something. You just got to go do it yourself. It's a very simple aspect of your life that you just need to embrace. You know, don't expect things to fall in your lap. Don't expect opportunities to happen. Do them yourself. Get out there, work hard. You know, the harder you work, the luckier you get. You create your own luck. You know?
I mean, I think maybe I can beat the curve here with a little forward thinking here. Luckily, I have a great staff, and it allows me to be out of my shop for 2 days out of the 5 days. So I've volunteered my time to Coventry High School in automotive.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm helping the teacher. I'm a teacher's helper.
Okay.
And, you know, with knowledge.
Yeah.
And I'm helping these young kids in high school learn about cars.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, even though I'm doing it to give back to the community that's been really good to us, but I'm also doing it at the same time to try to hire talent before it gets out in the big world and gets ruined by, you know, people that don't want to embrace these kids coming out of school. And, you know, it's working pretty good.
Yeah.
I really like it. I really enjoy it. And, you know.
How many years have you been doing that?
I actually just started this year.
Okay.
I'm here there every Tuesday and Thursday. And it's going pretty well. I mean, I got these kids now where when I first started there, you know, they were constantly going up to the first teacher, which is the full-time teacher, asking them questions. I'm like, Jesus, you know, I can answer that question. I'm thinking to myself, I can answer that question. And now I've been doing it for, I don't know, a few months now. And now I got the same kids coming up to me and asking me questions too. So I think they're embracing it as much as I am. And, you know, they also know I own a shop, so they're interested in that. So yeah, it's working out pretty good, and I'm really happy to have the opportunity to do that. You know, not only have the free time that I can do that and offer that, but I'm very happy that Coventry High School opened up the opportunity for me to do it, because it's really, I think it's definitely an advantage to hoping somebody walks through your door. I mean, I'd love to bring up these, you know, grab a nice high school kid out of high school, you know, unless they decide to go to New England Tech or, you know, move on with their career, which is fine too. But not everybody can do that. But if I find a kid, like you mentioned, find a child that is capable and a hard worker and conscientious about what he's doing and cares about what he's doing, I'll hire that child anytime over, you know, some kid that was forced to go to school or forced to do something he really didn't want to do. You know, you got to enjoy what you do.
Absolutely.
That's the secret to success.
The only way to do great work is to love what you do.
You love what you do. I mean, that's hands down. Any parent can say, oh, yeah, my kid, you know, is going to Harvard. My kid's going to Yale. Well, if your child doesn't want to do that, guess what? He's not going there with a positive mindset. You know, so, you know, as long as you love what you do, you can be successful.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a high school graduate.
Yep.
And, you know, 25 years, we're still in business and we're thriving.
Yeah.
And we're known out there to be a great shop.
Yep.
So, you know, if you love what you do, it radiates. If you don't, it's not the ultimate success to me.
You can always tell when somebody doesn't really enjoy what they do, and it's almost instantaneous. Because I go to a lot of networking events, and I meet people who act like they are forced to be there. People that work for larger companies, I'm not going to say who or what company, but they're just there, and they're like, oh yeah, I work for XYZ company, and I do this. I'm like, oh really? They're like, yeah. I'm like, sounds like a blast.
As they look down a little.
Yeah. And I'm like, and it's like when I go and I talk about 3D printing or this podcast or real estate, like real estate being my newest thing is the great thing about it is it's still my own business, and it's something that affects everybody. Real estate affects everybody. You know, you got to live somewhere. And it's a really interesting topic because there's so many different aspects you got to
Hey there guys, sorry to interrupt the episode, but I just wanted to tell you that I got my real estate license in the state of Rhode Island. So if you need to buy, sell, or need help renting a property in the state of Rhode Island, feel free to reach out. Contact me at maxwellwillett@kw.com or call me at 401-487-4477, and I'd be more than happy to help you. Thanks guys, and enjoy the rest of the episode.
think about so many different parts of the industry that people that have been doing real estate for 30 years are still going out there and learning new things. You know what I mean? And then when it comes to 3D printing, the technology is always advancing. And then this podcast is a way for people to access information from regular everyday people, you know, that have very important life lessons to share. You know, I'm being very passionate about what I do right now.
Right.
You know, just like you have to love what you do. I'm not saying I do great work, but when it comes to, I'm not going to, you know, pat myself on the back, but I mean, I love what I do and hopefully I do great work, but you're absolutely right. And, you can always tell when somebody doesn't like, and it's crazy. You meet people like, I know my insurance agent, right? I'm going to give him a shout out. He's been on the podcast before, Jeff Frizzoco, business insurance. He's in BNI. Like, I never knew somebody could be so passionate about insurance. But the guy, both the insurance agents, I'm not part of it. I actually am leaving BNI, but both the insurance agents, I'll give Holly a shout out too. Holly Martin. Yes.
She's a good friend of ours too.
Yep. She changed her last name recently, and I had to think about it because she got married. Like, those two people love what they do.
They do. You can tell that with Holly. You know, it's funny you mention that because her husband, Casey, he's in my BNI group.
Yep. Okay.
And I specifically asked Casey about Holly so I can introduce Holly to my daughter and my son because she radiates that positive energy. And you know, and of course with my daughter, female to female, I mean, what's better than that?
Yeah.
And my son, you know, my daughter ended up going a different direction, not in the social groups, but just a different direction in our business. And Sam, my son that graduated from Nichols College last year, he stepped up to be where Carly is. He's more in the front. I wanted him to join a BNI because he's very social and he's very easy to get, and you know him, he's very easy to get along with. And I introduced Holly to him as well because I know Holly, he's whether it's my son or my daughter, they're in good hands with Holly because Holly's an uplifting person. So, but it's funny you mentioned Holly because I know exactly who you were talking about when you said Holly.
Yeah, but yeah, it just all ties into you got to love what you do and you'll do great work. You know, that always come with each other. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about your business. This is a pretty common question though. What do you think is the biggest misconception about auto repair shops in your industry?
I would say dishonesty. A lot of people think auto repair shops are dishonest. It is very easy to be dishonest.
Yeah.
But that takes a person to be dishonest. You know, that's you got to go in with intent to be dishonest. I mean, it's not in our nature to be dishonest. We're never dishonest. I don't believe it. As Judge Judy says, is, if you tell the truth, you don't have to worry about having a good memory.
Yeah.
So, and I live by that because it's so true. But I think a lot of the dishonest shops are no longer in existence. I think for the most part, there's a lot of great shops out there. There's a lot of great dealerships out there. And people's opinions of auto repair, it's just a cloud that we can't seem to get out from under. But that's probably the most misconception that I believe is earning their trust. And that's okay. I want to earn their trust. I don't expect someone to walk through the door and instantly trust us. I want the opportunity to be trusted. And then I can take it from there. We can take it from there. I got a very honest shop. And, I don't think it's as dishonest. I mean, years ago, used car dealers, they used to turn, they always heard about the odometers being turned back and all that. But since the cars have been more computerized than ever, you can't do that anymore. I mean, it's burned into the computer. So you can't change it. And yeah, you can they even have indicators like a BMW, for instance. If you take a computer from one car to another car, it sets a little light off in your dashboard that gives you an indicator that the odometer might not be the right mileage. So I think that dishonesty has gone away a lot. People don't like to pay for car repairs. I mean, diagnosing, I mean, that really is, if I had to start subcategorizing what people don't embrace is diagnosing a car. I mean, they say, oh, just hook it up to the computer and, you can find out. No, the computer puts you on a trail and then as many lefts and rights off that trail. Yeah. And, if it's, you're going down the trail a little bit and then you come, well, if it's got 5 volts, you go this way. If it's got 10 volts, you go that way. And then if it's got, it's just, it's very intricate. And people think you still should work for free.
Yeah.
And it's just not the way it is anymore. It just isn't. I mean, you don't go to the doctor and expect not to get charged.
Yep.
And then God forbid if the check engine light comes back on after you had it fixed already, they
just don't buy a BMW and that won't happen.
But I mean, I think people need to relax a little bit. I don't think anybody's out there trying to take advantage of them. So, I mean, that's the most challenging part.
There's 3 main things any business should tell customers. And those 3 things are time, quality, and money. Right? If you want things done in a timely manner, fast, you're not going to have great quality and it's going to cost a lot. You know what I mean? So, like, you have to give to receive, you know what I mean? Or if you want something done quality, it's going to cost time and money.
Right.
If you don't have a lot of money, and those 3 things are very important to every aspect of business. And when you have customers, you should always tell them that. Like, I've had customers that come to me and say, hey, I need this made $200 and I need it by Friday. I'm like, okay, it's not that much money and it's a very quick turnaround. I'm like, all right, I can do it. It's not going to be great quality. And they're like, okay, that's fine. So I print the part, ship it, they get it, and they're like, this isn't great quality. I'm like, what did I say in the freaking email, dude? You wanted it in 4 days for dirt cheap, and it's a large part. What'd you think? It was going to come in like it was forged in like this the state of the art?
Well, look at a printer, like a regular printed piece of paper.
Yeah.
You do it quick, it's pixelated. If you do it slow, so a 3D printer, I imagine, works the same way. You want a good, clear picture, you got to do it slower. So, yeah, I know it's tough.
Yeah, it's something that and I love this quote. Steve Jobs is one of my business idols, and in the movie with Steve Jobs, Michael Fassbender, I'm not sure if Steve Jobs ever said this, but he probably did. He said, the person who came up with the quote, "The customer is always right," was most definitely a customer.
Well, true. That's true.
Because unfortunately, that's not always the case.
No, I have a friend of mine in my BNI group. He mentioned it. He mentioned it right. He goes, the customer is not always right, but they do come first.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and that was a quote, Dave DeCamp. But he's one of my mentors. I really look up to him. He's very, very good.
Yeah. So I know we had talked a little bit about marketing, and you said how relationships was very important when you first started. You know, obviously because referral based, word of mouth is the king in your type of industry.
Yes.
But was there any other type of marketing? You know, 1998, there wasn't really a whole lot of online marketing or anything like
It
that.
was Yellow Pages.
Yeah.
Remember those?
No, I was born in 2001.
Oh, geez,
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah.
You don't remember Yellow Pages.
Nope. So I think Sam is like
He's
only a year older
2000.
than me. Yeah.
So he's just a year
So
younger than you.
Yeah. So what were some of the other effective That was the question. What is some of the other effective marketing strategies?
I had business cards actually that worked very well. See, one of the things that helped us get off the ground is I lived in West Warwick, and on the way from Apponaug in Warwick to West Warwick, there was maybe 4 restaurants on the way every night. Every time I got, in fact, I used to have my daughters do it too, is I would come home at night and these restaurants would be full of cars. And I had a business card printed out before, you know, a naive one, but it worked, is I had a big stop sign on it, and it was stop paying the price of the dealer, and it had my name on it and my information. And every night, sometimes 2 or 3 times a night, I would go to these restaurants and I would walk by the left front door, and I was pretty good at it. And the little wipe that's at the bottom of the window that slides down, I would walk by and not even miss a beat while I was walking by it, and I'd slide one of the card right in between that little wiper and the door window.
Yep.
And it really didn't get people mad. It's not like you put them on their wipers and they drive off, and then all of a sudden they got this paper flopping around and get aggravated and get mad at you. So it was just right at that, and that worked for us pretty well. Yellow Pages worked pretty well for us.
Can you
but we
explain
always
what
had
Yellow
to spend,
Pages are for people that may not know what Yellow Pages are?
Years ago, way back when, there was publications, you know, regular book-sized publications with about, 600 pages in alphabetical order of everybody's phone. You know, they had white pages and yellow pages. The book was split in half. You can easily see white and yellow. And all the yellow represented businesses, and all the white was
And this
residents.
was on a computer?
This was on, computer. No.
Oh, okay.
This
That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
That's what I was saying, like online marketing.
Oh, online
Like I know what a
marketing.
phone book is. Like we had a phone book.
Oh,
when I
yeah,
was a
phone
kid.
book.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, all right.
Yeah.
So that's but that was way back.
Yeah.
You mentioned about, what worked early on. That is what worked early on. Our first online thing, actually, I guess our first online publication might have been as the Yellow Pages were fading out a little. They used to start off with a website, and they had a very basic website, and I even forget what it was all about. It was pretty easy to navigate through, unlike today. I guess that was probably it, and it was all fairly new to us, so I can't remember back that far to see what to give you an effective ad campaign that worked for us.
Yeah.
But it was being in front of people that really worked. And like I said, early on in business was the business cards and Yellow Pages and digital marketing. I'd have to say is the Yellow Pages once offered a free website with the ad. And that was like the very beginning of our website design. That was probably in, probably 2000. 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. That was many years ago for us.
Okay, so let's fast forward to COVID.
Right.
During COVID, was the BNI referral base your most effective referral type marketing type during COVID, or was there something else that you guys did to help stay afloat?
Well, I've learned some things through COVID. Well, through my coaching, because one of the things that we started to do probably 12 years ago now, we have business coach. Coaches. We used to have business coaches. One was out of Utah. The other one was out of Colorado. I would travel back and forth from Colorado and back. These guys being from the West Coast, a lot of what goes on in the West Coast eventually moves over to the East Coast. So I feel like we were a little ahead of our time. And what they were doing when COVID hit is, they sanitizing cars, obviously wearing masks. We were picking up people's cars instead of them have to come out to us. We were going out to them, and then our driver would get to their driveway and clearly sanitize everything, wipe everything down, put their bill in the mailbox. Everything was taboo. You couldn't do anything. But one of the greatest things that we got, and before demand was very high, was a fogging machine. It was just nothing more than a gun that you turned on. You put pure alcohol in the thing. We used to buy it by the gallons, and pour it in. Turn the machine on. It would warm up, and then it would just, it would just fog out. And it was really cool because we were able to fog the whole car, and it would get in spots that you just wouldn't even think of wiping down, between the seats and stuff and all that, all that stuff. The fog would just like fumigate the car. And it also gave that alcohol smell, so it was real to people because they could smell it when they get in. Oh, geez, they sanitized my car, So, but that worked for us. And another thing that worked for us was just simple kindness. We had some elderly clients of ours, and, we would ask them, do you want us to go get you groceries? We would pull up to the house and we'd see their garbage cans that were empty. We'd bring them back to the house for them. So it was all little things like that really helped us through COVID. Everybody was in a panic. We lost a few employees because they were either elderly or, we had a technician that had a young child at home. So, they didn't want to come back. And it was like, geez, I had people, the way human nature is, they know there's a crisis going on. They know you're shorthanded. We had people towing cars out of our shop because we didn't get to it because there was only like 2 of us there, 3 of us there. And it was a horrible time. And it was a horrible time because we couldn't get anything done. It was terrible. But as time went on, it got better. But COVID really beat up everybody, I think.
Absolutely. But
unfortunately,
but I've said this before on the podcast, you can't just always, feel bad for yourself. Right. And you have to look at everything that's tough as a learning experience. And there's definitely going to be another time where business is tough, business is hard, but you always fall back on those times that said, okay, what happened then and what made us successful and how were we able to persevere, through that.
Right.
And I started my business, February 27th, 2020 is when I incorporated Custom 3D. So not the best of time.
Tough time.
Because it's not like I could go, there were no trade shows, nothing like that. And to get in front of big manufacturers that need parts, that's the best way to do it, because they're not searching, they're not going on Google to, I run Google ads and things like that. Big manufacturers don't really do that. They get most of their business through trade shows, So that was tough, but I was very lucky. I had my family. I just graduated high school in my second semester of college, so I was lucky. But yeah, it's that's how I look at it. And honestly, I'm one of the very lucky people that can say, without COVID, I would not be where I am today.
Right.
Because online school happened and I could not stand online college. Drove me insane. I couldn't learn anything.
I imagine it.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Like, why would I watch a professor tell me how to do this equation on Zoom when I could just go look it up on YouTube for free?
Right. Taking up time, you
Like,
can do it. Yeah.
the whole point of a college education is to go.
Yeah,
and
my
be
son
in person.
Sam got a little cheated with that too because of that.
Yeah.
COVID stuff. But you know, I mean, it's just a tough time. I mean, and the repercussions from it, the shortages of this, and then the containers, you know, that were not getting unloaded. We had so many challenges with parts.
Yeah.
I mean, simple stuff. I'm not talking, you know, some weird part that's hard to get anyway. I'm talking about oil filters on back order.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how bad is that?
Yeah.
You know, and no sign of when they're coming in, or waiting for a part for a month. It's supposed to be here in, you know, say September 20th. September 20th rolls around. It goes on back order again for another month while the car's off the road and they're in my loaner car. You know, it's like, what do you do? Do I get my loaner back, or do I let them continue to use it? Then they got to rent a car, and it's like, it's just a terrible time.
So good thing you mentioned that. Explain the loaner car program that you have and why you decided to do that, because not every auto shop does that, obviously. So what made you want to start doing that?
Well, I mean, any benefit that we can provide to a client is a competitive advantage over our competition. Now, I don't consider other repair shops, my size or not, competition. A lot of them are my friends. I got quite a few shop owners that are my friends. They're, you know, I don't look at them as a competitor. I look at it, you know, some people take it to heart when, you know, my client is in your shop, you know, all of a sudden I'm calling you the bad guy when my client's in your shop. I don't look at it that way. I look at it, I did something that my client went to your shop, not because I pushed my client to your shop, not that you tried to grab my client. So, but the dealerships, they all have loaner cars. And I've always wanted to get loaners. I always thought it would be a great thing. This, you know, it's almost instant. A car comes in and the guy's in, you know, woman is in dire straits and can't, you know, go anywhere, don't have loaners, don't have anything. I can't help that client. So I started off with like 2 loaner cars, you know, cheap, low budget, just to be able to say, hey, here's a car for you. And today we have 7 loaner cars. We have, 3 Mercedes C300s. We got a Lexus GS 350. We got a Lexus ES 330. We have a Toyota Prius. And it's the 7th one. Got 7 of them. I think maybe that was 7. It's just a great thing to be able to offer to somebody. And, you know, it's gotten to the point now, because we've had them for 4 years. It's gotten to the point now that people come to expect them. So it's like, oh, I need a loaner, you know. Oh, geez, I got 9 cars coming in. I got 7 loaners. I can't help you, you know. But then I get them in, you know, when I can. But I think it's a great thing to be able to offer somebody a loaner car while their car is in for service. I mean, it is part of our service. You know, we have our name Elite. So there's a lot of things we do that other repair shops don't do. I mean, like I said, we have 7 loaner cars. We have a 3-year, 36,000-mile repair warranty. We wash, vacuum, and clean the windows of every car that comes in for service, unless the weather permits us not to. We'll pick up and deliver your car. I have a driver that's all he does all day is is drive cars to the car wash and back, picks up clients, drops them off, goes gets parts for us. Just he's more the he calls himself the gopher, but he's an intelligent man. He's retired. He actually worked at Inskip as a finance guy, but he's a great addition to our team, and that's what he does. He knocks all the obstacles down so we can go forward, and he's very important to have in our group, because without him, somebody else would have to do it. So, and what are you asking? You asking a technician to do it that's responsible for getting work out the door? You asking a sales guy that's responsible for selling work? So we got to have that guy. So I think part of who we are is being there for the client when they need us, and in every way, not just we can repair your car, but if you need a loaner and you get your car cleaned and we got a great warranty, all that is what combined that is part of our success, is the fact that we are able to successfully pull this all off and still deliver value to the client, which is something that we like to do.
Absolutely. So I've got 3 final questions for you.
Sure.
All right, so let's do this first question. New cars, stay away from. You mentioned BMW. Is that the car brand you say stay away from?
Well, there's other ones out there that I would put before BMW,
Okay.
and I wouldn't say stay away from them.
Yeah.
I would say,
Buy new
would
if
you
you're
rather have a reliable car or an exciting car to drive? If you want an exciting car to drive, European, hands down.
Yeah.
You want a reliable car and you don't want to spend a lot of money repairing it and being in the shop, then my blood is Toyota and Lexus.
So what would you put before BMW then?
As reliable in the European cars?
That's you should stay away from.
Land Rover.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I don't know why I didn't think of that.
I always go by average repair orders.
Yeah.
Okay. For instance, Toyota, Lexus. Well, let's say Toyota. Toyota's average repair order is probably in the neighborhood of $500 to $700. Lexus probably $700 to $900. BMW probably $900 to $1,200. Land Rover probably $1,800 to $2,200.
Why?
Average repair order.
Why does that happen? Is it just the quality of the parts or the quality of the manufacturing? Like, why do you think that happens?
Well, I don't know. I suspect, unlike Toyota and that we talked about earlier, and Lexus, is they're always looking for the newest, the greatest. So they don't really perfect anything. They got some really cool stuff out there,
But they're all junk.
but they're unreliable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would have to say. I mean, I guess that's what it is.
Yeah.
I really don't know why one could be so reliable and others are not so reliable, other than everyone's trying to be more innovative than others.
Would Jaguar kind of fall under?
Jag falls
the
right
same?
in there with the Land Rovers.
Yeah, because it's the same
British.
brand. They were bought out by like an Indian company, weren't they?
I lost track of who
Yeah.
owns who anymore.
And then,
but
some of the new, like not new, but like brands that are coming back, like Alfa Romeo, are coming back. Maserati has released a couple of SUVs. Though they're
Right.
under Stellantis,
right,
right? Both of those companies are Alfa Romeo and
right.
Maserati. But are those cars like
Well,
sort of
when you get
okay,
into the
or-
Maseratis, I mean, and the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis, I mean, we do our fair share of them. We do quite a few. In fact, we got a Maserati at the shop now. But I can't really speak for them like I can the other cars.
Yeah.
So
Maserati.
I can tell you this is when you get into the Maseratis, you get into the Italian cars, you want to talk about trying to find information on them.
Yeah.
Is next to horrible.
Yeah.
They just are so tight-lipped about everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have your wallet out forget about it. You're not getting information. You can't get it anywhere.
Yeah. I've always strongly, like, I have family that's Italian, but I've always hated the Maserati brand. I've always thought, like, well, they're BMW competitors, but they charge more and you get less horsepower, and they're even more unreliable than BMWs, and there's less people that have them. So, like, what's the point of getting one? Like, I don't think, like, when you say BMW and Maserati, in my head, I don't think Maseratis are cooler. I don't think they're
No.
like,
I don't know if I put them in the same category, though. I look at Mercedes, Audi, BMW, in the same category. Maserati, I kind of put in there with Maserati, Lamborghini, Ferrari.
Really?
Well,
with the Grand,
I mean, I could be wrong with that. It's just, I don't know. I just separate them as different cars.
Yeah.
And however, I put Porsche in that exotic kind of group too.
Well,
as
yeah,
well.
probably like Porsche and Maserati are. Like the closest.
they're more in that subcategory than the German side.
Yeah, because they're nicer than BMWs and Mercedes.
I mean, I think what you're getting with those cars, you're getting softer leather, you're getting thicker carpeting. I mean, you're getting a nicer smell to the leather. You're getting more leather. Because some of these cars, they have a leather seat bottom, but the sides are pleather.
Yeah.
Where Maserati and these other Italian cars, you're getting pure leather, real leather, baseball glove leather, soft leather. That's another thing. There's different grades of leather. So I think
you're
just
the crap
getting
stuff in the Teslas, the vegan leather.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go.
That you have for a week and then starts turning the color of your pants. But I think, honestly, in my opinion, the greatest car brand is Hyundai. No, I'm just
Hyundai's come a
I'm
long
just
way.
kidding. I'm just saying
They
that because I
come a
have
long
one.
way. I'm not a Hyundai fan, but they're a lot better than they used to be.
Yeah, well, I have a
They
Hyundai.
bought the market, is what they did with buying engines and transmissions almost for the life of the car. They bought that product, but they were slick with their marketing too. Is Hyundai? Is Hyundai? I believe when they first came out, they had like this 10-year powertrain warranty. They still might.
They still do 10-year, 100,000 miles.
I don't know if they still do, but they did at one point.
Yeah.
And what they did do is their bumper-to-bumper stuff, they only had for a year, I think. So what would happen is, they would stand behind the engine for 10 years, but God forbid if your cup holder broke in a year and a half, you were buying a new cup holder.
Yeah.
But the other thing that they did very well is they protected their parts patent and reproduction. So if you wanted simple stuff for Hyundai for a long time, I'm not in that market, so I really don't know. But I remember at times you had to buy your brake pads and your rotors right off from the Hyundai dealer. Because they wouldn't let any of these other brands, aftermarket brands, reproduce them. So they were slick. They didn't make their money on the car as much as they did the after the sale, and that's how they really rose to the top, or they rose pretty quickly.
Yeah,
is they just knew what to let the general public have and what not to, and then was smart enough to know that if your cup holder breaks in a year and a half, you're buying a new cup holder.
Yeah. All right. So, second to last question. You sort of mentioned this. I think I know what the answer to this is, but I'm going to ask it anyways. What would you say you're most proud of in your business?
Most proud of?
Yeah.
I would have to say my team I'm most proud of.
Okay.
I got my business partner. Let's go back to my business partner. My wife, my ex-wife now, she is there 100% behind us, period. I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night, she texts me about something. You know what I mean? She's there 100%. My son, my daughter, my service advisor, my 3 technicians, my dispatcher, my driver. Everyone is there because they want to be there. They want to be there. They do we make mistakes? Yes, we do. Does anybody in my place try to avoid mistakes? Everyone does. So I have to say, without them, we wouldn't be where we're at. So they're what I'm most grateful about. And, it's not just me, myself, but we get reviews constantly. We get 2 or 3 reviews a day that come in, complimenting everybody on my staff. So that makes me feel good. That makes me feel good that they come in and say, oh, Sam did a great job, or Mike did a great job, or Nate did a great job. And, the driver was friendly. Bill was friendly. That tells me that we're being well represented, and that's what I'm proud of.
And I lied. I actually just thought of another question. What is the most peculiar car that you've worked on? Like, what is like the rarest or most peculiar car that has came into the shop?
My infamous 1946 Cadillac. That one, that was my biggest sale for work, and probably a job that I lost the most money on.
That's funny how that works out.
Funny how that works out.
Yeah.
It was a 46 Cadillac limousine.
Yeah.
One of our clients has a collection of all these weird stuff. It stayed and lived in our building for about 2 years, minimally, maybe closer to 3. Was every step of the way that car fought us. One of the cool things that I'll still say about it, it was actually featured in the movie The Godfather.
Really?
Yeah, so it had a little bit of like bragging rights to it because
Yeah.
it was, and we watched
Do you know
the
what
movie.
scene?
It was the wedding scene with Al Pacino. It was a maroon-colored Cadillac limo. Not limos like we know. It's some hunchback-looking
Yeah.
4-door, extra long kind of thing. It's
Yep.
not wasn't real, fancy like they are now. But yeah, it's if you're familiar with The Godfather, there's a wedding
that
scene,
movie.
and there's a maroon one with a black vinyl top on it. That's the car, and that car was in my shop for 3 years.
Wow.
And we lost the most money on that car, but it was definitely that was the one that really handed our tails to us. Is that car?
Interesting.
That's the one that'll be most memorable for me.
Very cool. Were you looking over your shoulder the whole time when you were working on it, making sure nobody's like?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was cool. It was a
Yeah.
cool car, and
Yep.
and the guy couldn't be a nicer guy. The guy that owns the car. I love the guy that owns the car. He was just such a nice guy, but that car was just bad luck for us.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the last question I end every podcast with is this question right here. If you were to leave one piece of advice for the listeners, it could be business, life, any piece of advice you want it to be, what would that be?
Well, we didn't touch on this much, and it's not a benefit to my business at all. So I'm gonna speak from the heart here. These aftermarket warranties that you hear about, we have one on TV that's always on TV. We got, of course, everybody knows these aftermarket warranties. I cannot stress enough about these car warranties. Make sure you know what you're buying when you buy them. If you're going to buy one of those warranties, absolutely go through somebody that has a little skin in the game, like a bona fide dealership. Like we got many of them around here, the bona fide ones, the Belises or the Tasca or, Inskips. Buy the warranties from them guys. Or maybe AAA. Don't buy it from someone who calls you on the phone. Don't go on the internet and try to save $1,000 and buy one that pops up that all reads well, because they are horrible and they're getting worse every day. So, my most cautionary thing, if I can do a podcast on those car warranties. I would love to get awareness out there. Do not buy those warranties unless you know what you're getting into.
Well, very cool. Is there any life advice that you sort of live by every day that you want to share?
Well, I've made a few mistakes in my life. All I can say is just be honest. Love what you do. Take every day as as a gift, because things can change real quickly for you.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you sharing all that information. I've had a great time talking to you.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for coming on.
Yes, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me.
Not a problem. Yeah, I look forward to every podcast. You never know what you can unlock through conversation.
Exactly.
Something that I've discovered. This is the 49th episode. So the next episode should be the 50th. And I think that's the biggest thing I've learned is that, you never know what you can learn just from sitting down and talking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just having look, I didn't for people watching, there's nothing here. This is my preparation. I just wrote down and I'm like, because you're limited by questions sometimes.
Right.
You don't want to be cookie cutter.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I love these, what do they call them? Improv or whatever they call them. Just these spare the moment things. Because I came here not having a clue to what we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking in my head, well, if he asks this, I'll do this. If he asks that, I'll say that. And it was just like I'm trying to anticipate my whole half-hour ride here on how is this going to be exciting? How are we going to sound? How are we going to keep people engaged?
Mm-hmm.
And just the way we did it, I think, for me anyway, made it a lot easier to do this podcast just by the way you orchestrated it.
Thank you.
It was well done.
Thank you very much. Well,
it was a lot of fun too.
Yeah, thank you. I love doing it. And for all you listening, make sure to leave the podcast a review on every platform. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you can subscribe and you can also like it. If you like the episode, go ahead and like it. Also, we offer a subscription service through patreon.com. You just look up Knowledge is Power on patreon.com, and you can get early access to all episodes. Like I stated earlier, this episode is being recorded on January 6th. It won't be available for a couple more weeks on widely available platforms, but it will be available on Patreon either today or tomorrow. So you can get episodes weeks in advance. You can also interact with other people that listen to the podcast. So yeah, thank you very much for listening, everybody. And thank you, Jim, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And I will catch you guys in the next one.